This is Bobby D. I welcome you to this video of the Island of Patmos, sharing our sights and impressions of the trip.
What a beautiful morning. We have the sun on the ocean and gentle
Yeah,
breeze.
it's absolutely gorgeous today, and it's warming up. We're going to be headed to the Island of Patmos today. This is March the 6th, and we forgot to set the time, so we were an hour late getting up, but fortunately we haven't arrived at the shore yet.
And Patmos is where John gave the revelation, so we're looking forward to seeing the site. Have a great day.
Let's see what we can see out there on the ocean. I may have to do another video because I can't see anything on the screen except my reflection. Well, we're cruising into Patmos, and we're still quite a ways away, but this is the scene that you have with islands are off in the distance. And as you can see, we're moving along at a pretty good on our way to see where St. John was exiled. And it should be a very interesting day. And although rain is forecast, it looks pretty good out there. After a short breakfast, we took a look at Patmos, and it's been inhabited since 3000 BC. Had to take a tender into the port, and that's the view on the inside of the tender as we were going to the shore. And here's Cheryl at the dock looking out into the port city. There, a picture of the two of us that a friendly traveler took for us, and an entrance to the monastery. Here we are outside the monastery waiting in line as we look over the city of Chora. And of course we had to have tickets to get in. It was a monastery, and they did encourage appropriate attitudes as we got into the monastery. Walking in to the monastery, and you see the crowds that are planning to go through and see the cave of St. John. Now those three windmills are fascinating items because they were a major mainstay of the economy, and now they're just a museum and a electrical generating plant and a water plant. I seem fascinated by looking out over the city and seeing the bay that comes into the city. As you notice, the ship could not get in close at all. That is a convent in the distance where I'm on top of the monastery now, and there was a convent there at one time. And there's our ship off in the far distance, and you can better see the bay that comes into the city of Chora, which is the only major city on the island. Some little villages, but that's about all. I'm still amazed by the blueness of the water of the Aegean Sea there, and the Mediterranean as a whole is the amazingly colors of the water as we traveled along through there. Now this is the bells of the monastery, and they were actually used as warning bells when the enemies were come, and they would ring, and then everybody would head into the monastery, which was the main place of safety. Inside the courtyard, Cheryl took an opportunity to sit down and relax after standing in line a lot. Interesting set of steps. We couldn't really go up, although I went up to take some pictures. And now we're into the entrance of the monastery. and some of the artwork that's there.
And if we don't manage this little construction,
This area shows the kind of the timeline of the construction and the changes in the monastery. It was actually started in 1101 after permission of the Byzantine Emperor Alexius Komnenos gave the Christians authority to build this monastery. Christodoulos was actually given complete authority over the island of Patmos. The monastery grew and the settlement expanded around it, and during the 12th century it became a major trading area. It was transformed to a commercial center and actually had 2 commercial vessels that traveled. That is the only monk left in the monastery, and he is evidently completely in charge of everything that's happening. And now you see the first entrance to the cave. One of the things that we discovered in going through the cave, that's where a hole where St. John's reported to have slept with his head in resting there at night. But as you can see here, there's a number of altars and statues and religious, I don't know what to call them, edifices, perhaps. They're all made inside this cave, and for Cheryl and I, it was a distraction, really. They're beautiful and they look like they're gold, and it's just amazing. But as you get out of the monastery, you can see down over the area again, and we're going to be heading down this walkway and eventually down through a residential part of the city to a mansion that has been occupied for at least 10 generations. And a gentleman by the Stephanus is currently living in the house and maintaining it. And although he didn't act as our guide for this trip, he does live there. When you see it, you'll be amazed at the furnishings that are there, the stone arches and the floors and the Russian furniture that are some of the elements that are in the house. It is a museum, and the family has continued to maintain it. It dates back to 1625 and kept a traditional classic style of the mansion. You'll be seeing that in a short time as we're walking down these city streets. Almost looks like a mall in the U.S. with buildings on the side, but these are actually residences, and they are extremely expensive. For hundreds of years, they were passed down from generation to generation. But when they got into hard times, they sold them off, and now they are multi-million-dollar apartments or houses, not apartments. And you can see the narrow streets that we had to walk down. And they are the streets that go around this area. Every once in a while we took a chance to sit down and relax. And amazing how many feral cats are around that the government actually captures and neuters and then lets the people feed them, and just keeps down the population of the rodents, I guess. Getting closer into where the mansion is located, and you're inside the mansion now. Looking at those are steps on the left side, but we were not able to go up into that. You can see the furnishings that were inside the monastery or the mansion, and it is amazing. It was operated as a consulate during the Turkish occupation and was actually a government building, which is kind of amazing. We like the exposed beams of this room and tried to maintain that in a screen room we have at our house, but we're not really too satisfied with it now, so we may be closing it in. As you'll see, the clock up in the corner, it was not 8 o'clock in the morning. It was about 1 or 2 in the afternoon when this actually took place. Cheryl and I are walking down with the crowd and don't remember what we're talking about, but there's
No,
a little bit of conversation there.
wasn't.
This does show you that there are some wide streets on the island, and real vehicles do travel on the island. It's not all narrow, skinny walkways. And in a minute we turn around and I'm frustrated because we're going downhill some more. And you'll see the restaurant in the distance.
It figures.
And there's the restaurant. Son was at the west and had a hard time with that. Here's our entertainment coming up. I don't know about these old guys dancing with the young ladies, but they seem to be having a good time. Here's the meal that we had. Yeah, some of the delicacies were good. They served wine, but I found the water to be quite refreshing. And there's one of our waitresses, dressed in the traditional costumes of the area. And now we'll take a look around the restaurant, and it was actually decent size and did have good food there. It was getting toward evening time when we started back to the boat, and I had to lighten some of the pictures a little bit in order to see the foreground and catch the moon up there with the buildings over the top of it. And then we see some night shots of Chora and the water reflecting the lights of the evening. And we get on our tender and head back out to the ship, the Norwegian Jade. And as we get to it, why, of course, we have to say goodbye to our guide for the day, and then climb up the steps to get off the tender and back onto the ship. Hello, this is Bobby D, and we're summarizing our day at Patmos, the island where John was exiled. Cheryl?
Well, we were actually privileged to go into the cave where John was told by an angel the revelation that we have in his word. And then we went to a monastery. The funny thing is, we went all the way down and then all the way back up.
And
And it was amazing.
when we talk about down and up, it was not easy trekking. It was a pretty good stretch. For those of you who played golf with me on at Boise Ranch, it was like the 16th fairway all the way up the hill to the green, and it was all the way up there. It was crazy.
It was fun though, and then we were privileged to go to a real Turkish dinner. We had a sampling of many of the Turkish traditional food. Some were good, some were bad, but we ate, or we tried to taste them all.
It was a surprise for us too, because they also had entertainment there. They had was a violin and a guitar
And a mandolin.
and a mandolin that were playing, and then people dressed up, the waiters and waitresses, in typical folk dress, and did routines and dance routines and got the audience involved and all that stuff, which was kind of cool. And then they did a snake dance all the way out through the audience. It was kind of funny.
And we ended up coming back to the ship, and we finished the evening with the most amazing instrumentalist. This man played more instruments than I've ever seen one person play. And in the middle, he had a drum war with the orchestra drummer that was extraordinary. So we had a good day, and we're ready now to settle back and relax and start again tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow will be all day at sea, so we'll have some time to catch up on other things. And as you're all aware, we haven't had internet service, so we haven't been texting and we haven't been able to upload any videos. So we'll sign off for now, and we hope you'll check us out again.
Good night.
I hope you enjoyed this video. We hope you will give it a like and subscribe, and also share it with your friends.